Hello and welcome to the very first episode of Let's Talk About Star Wars with Maggie Lovett. I'm so excited to be creating videos and talking about some of my favorite aspects of Star Wars. Now, I am a sucker for a good alternate universe fanfic, so I spend a lot of time thinking about the what could have beens. If you follow me on Twitter, then you probably saw my rant a few weeks ago when news broke about one of the potential backstories for Rey that was considered pre The Rise of Skywalker. The Kenobi theory was one of my personal favorites and my preference post The Force Awakens if they were going to decide that Rey was connected to a legacy character. I will go down with that ship for the rest of my life, but it was just nice to see that it had at least been considered. I would have personally liked to see that happen because I'm a huge fan of Obi-Wan and Satine, and I hope that that would have canonized quirky Kenobi. But that's a whole sidebar I'm not going to get into. You will have to wait and watch a segment with Geeky Waffle, which will be up in a few weeks. That's definitely a theory that I will live and die by. But don't worry, I'm not going to be getting into any what could have beens for the sequel trilogy. Not something I'm looking to ever get into. But I would like to talk about a what could have been for my personal favorite film, Rogue One, as well as a what could have been for Star Wars: A New Hope. Here's something you may not have known if you don't frequent Twitter and look up articles about Star Wars all the time, like I do. Star Wars: A New Hope could have been a very different film, and not just because there were Jabba scenes that were cut due to budgeting issues and maybe a version of the script where Han shot first. I'm not talking about a different cut of the film. I'm talking about how there could have been an entirely different film if one thing had been different. Don't get me wrong, we all love Alec Guinness. But did you know George Lucas considered another actor for the role of Ben Kenobi? Lucas was in love with Japanese cinema, and he actually considered world-renowned actor Toshiro Mifune for the role of Ben Kenobi. When news of this broke in 2015, Mifune's daughter actually stated that he turned down offers to play Darth Vader and Ben Kenobi out of concern that the film was going to look cheap. Phil Sowstack recently shared this gorgeous piece of fan art by Paulo Rivera of Mifune as Ben Kenobi, paired with an interesting quote from George Lucas. I was going to use Toshiro Mifune for Ben Kenobi. We even made a preliminary inquiry. If I'd gotten Mifune, I would have also used a Japanese princess, and then I would have probably have cast a black Han Solo. That was 1977. George started writing Star Wars in 1973, which was just 5 years after Star Trek broke barriers with the first interracial kiss on American television, which was a kiss between Kirk and Uhura. That scene took place just 1 year after the Supreme Court struck down state laws barring interracial marriage in America in the Loving versus Virginia case. That's not to say that there weren't phenomenal films in the 1970s led by Black men and women, but we are talking about America at a period of history where, well, America has always been America. It's hard to picture anyone other than Carrie Fisher and Harrison Ford in those roles, but I can't help but wonder how different things could have been. Obviously, the decision to make Luke and Leia twins in the third act wouldn't have happened. But could we have grown up watching a fresh-faced Carl Weathers as Han Solo? Could we have grown up idolizing Kiku Matsaki as our Princess Leia? If Mufane had decided to take a risk on Lucas's film, could we have grown up with a tremendous piece of science fiction where representation was at the forefront from the start? There's an alternate universe out there where this is how things panned out, and honestly, I'm a little jealous. Speaking of alternate universes, there was an early version of Rogue One that actually ended in a happy ending. This is a story that Entertainment Weekly broke back in 2017, and it lives rent-free in my mind. I should preface this by saying once again that Rogue One is my favorite Star Wars film. However, there is some extremely valid critiques of the film. given it is the most diverse Star Wars film, and it is also a film where every single one of those characters die by the end of it. For me, Rogue One is my favorite film because it came out a little over a month after the 2016 election, and it quickly became a comfort film for me. Yes, I have watched it over 300 times, and no, that isn't an exaggeration. As much as I love the bittersweet ending, I can't help but wonder how that happy ending ended. I have to say, I don't think I would have loved it as much as I love the film that we have. In the Entertainment Weekly article, screenwriter Gary Whitta explains that they did actually want everyone to die in their original version of the script, but they didn't think Disney would like that depressing ending, so they wrote one with a happy one. Obviously, we see that Disney did like the depressing version, which makes sense given that it does show the realities of war. In the original version of the script, Jen Erso already worked for the Rebel Alliance, and you can actually find some Sergeant Erso toys, which are a holdover from that original script. My beloved Cassian also had a completely different name, and unfortunately, Bodhi, Baze, and Chirrut didn't exist in that script, which I don't love. I will also live and die by my theory that there is a version of the script where Cassian and Jen kissed in that elevator scene. I mean, if you've seen it, you know what I'm talking about. Don't lie. Frankly, I'm just excited to see what Disney Plus is going to do with the Cassian Andor series and what we're going to learn about his backstory. I mean, that's the whole reason I bought Disney Plus. They hooked me with that series announcement. So here we are at the close of the first official episode of Let's Talk About Star Wars. What are your thoughts on the original script for Rogue One? Who would you have liked to see as Leia and Han if Mifune had taken the role? Are there any could-have-beens that live rent-free in your mind? Hit me up in the comments or over on Twitter. And if you're new to the channel, please remember to hit that bell. Is that what YouTubers say?